Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerer's Guild as well as online at sorcerersguild.com. Today, before we get started, I would like to give you a bit of an update. As many of you may have noticed, I haven't posted for about a month. The reason for that is I have had to pick up a regular job and I'm getting more accustomed to the idea of having a set schedule. So now that I've gotten more used to that, we will have more videos coming out. And there's a second reason that I haven't posted for the last little while, and that is actually what we're going to be talking about today. I have found a defrag button in my brain. Okay, so let me explain exactly what I mean by that. Okay, so I was born in 1979, and when I was very young, the first computers came out. And those were like your Commodores, and the one I had was a Texas Instruments computer. And it had a cassette drive that came with it. Okay, so I was quite neurodivergent as a child. And I was trying to find a way to control my brain. And my father taught me to meditate at a very young age. Honestly, I'm not even sure how young, like 2 or 3 tops. Anyways, by the time I was 5, they had these cassette drives out, and they would do the ding, 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 ding. And I meditated to that sound and created a computer interface within my mind. And this was an attempt to control the random wildness of my thoughts and how uncontrollable they were at that age. Yeah, I'd be, with the ADD and stuff, they'd just be all over the place constantly. So I designed this computer interface to control my brain and be able to direct it better. And as I grew older, I think I just kind of started seeing it as silly. I'm not sure how to explain it, but the computer faded over time. And there were many different aspects of this computer, but mostly it was memorization, keeping me on task, and creating what would almost be like little apps, little programs in it that would help me. And I used the computer data sound to do that, as well as self-hypnosis, as we have discussed in some of my previous videos. Okay, so, anyways, as I said, it began to fade as I grew older. And by the time I reached adulthood, it was completely gone. There was no more computer. I'd completely forgotten about it. Perhaps one of the things I had left behind with childhood, I don't know. Anyways, about 6 years ago, as I was meditating, I came across a large red button in my mind and said defrag. Now, of course, those of you who had computers in the 90s will be familiar with this term. The defrag button is how you defragment the broken code within your computer so that it will operate more efficiently and have a more cohesive operation. And of course, those were invented long after the 80s when I was creating my interface. But there it was, this defrag button. And I was quite nervous about it that first time. And I circled around it. I'd meditate around the button for a few days. And finally, I pushed it. And what happened was part of that computer came back online. And I got some of those programs back. One, for example, that came back the most clearly was one that had to do with aiming a rifle. That was something I did a lot as a kid, was shoot my BB gun and my .22 as much as I could. And I had developed a program on my computer interface so that I would see a square with a circle that would line up with the back and the front sight of the iron sights of the scope and help me aim. Well, when I pushed that button, it came back. That was one of the first things that came back. It was there as much as like on Sesame Street when Kermit the Frog draws the letter J. There was a square with a little circle, and they'd appear whenever I used a rifle with iron sights. They're still kind of there, but not like they were. Anyways, I didn't put a lot of meditation into trying to make that stronger. Perhaps I should have, but that was a while ago, and I've gone on with my life since then. And recently, the button has reappeared. It reappeared about, I think, a week and a half ago. And Well, I've been a little anxious with pushing it because, well, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to do. So I watched around it for a while like before, and then I got to thinking, if I could have a defragmentation button, a defrag button in my brain, which had evolved or been invented much later on in the computer process than when I had actually computerized my brain in the early 80s, then why couldn't I have a help button? So I created a help button, much the same as I did the save button in previous videos. So I suppose, and that's kind of interesting, come to think of it, that's a computer function as well. That hadn't really occurred to me till just now. There's a save button as well. It's something you're doing with the computer. But anyways, we have this defrag button, and so I then created a help button. And I pushed the help button, and I got Clippy. For those of you who remember Clippy, the little paper clip that would help you when you seem to be struggling with the old 90s style computers. So I pushed the help button, Clippy appeared and said, "You seem to be trying to defrag your brain. Can I help?" And so I asked Clippy, what is going to happen if I push this defrag button? And the response was that you will be merged with the part of you that has been gone. So there's a couple possibilities as to what that could mean. The first, the most obvious to me, is the events of May 5th and that part of me that went into the collective, the cosmic collective, and then came back and built the bridge to me, and I called that part back into myself. I'm not sure that we have yet to merge properly, so perhaps it's that, or it could simply mean bringing that part of me, the computer itself, back online, or a mixture of the two, or some other way that I don't understand. Either way, I have decided, since this could be an interesting event, that I want to film this taking place. So since I don't have a cassette of that data sound, which actually, that'd be interesting to try and find one, what I'm going to do is first use self-hypnosis to bring myself into the state to be receptive to the sound, and then I'm going to attempt to recreate the data on my flute. And as long as my subconscious accepts that, then that should get me into the most possible frame of reference I can be before I push that defrag button and see what happens. So essentially, I'm going to use self-hypnosis and my flute and an easy button to bring, I'm going to use the flute and the hypnosis and the self-hypnosis pendulum to bring my computer back online as much as I can in this moment. And then once I am there, I am going to use an easy button to symbolize the button in my brain, and I'm going to push them on the physical and the material realm at the same time while I am meditating. So, hopefully that you understand what it is I'm saying I'm going to do. I think I'm ready to go ahead and do that. I don't know how long that is actually going to take, so there may be some editing that is taken out. Because I don't know what's going to happen when I push the button. I may be meditating for quite a while still. I may need to pick back up the flute. We'll see. So the video may be a bit edited. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and light this candle that you, unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to see on the video. And we will start with the self-hypnosis to begin engaging the computer program. As the pendulum turns, the computer system, the computer interface in my brain will begin to operate. As the pendulum turns, the computer system in my brain will begin to operate. As the pendulum goes back and forth, the computer's interface in my brain will begin to engage. As the pendulum swings back and forth, the computer interface in my brain will begin to engage. As the pendulum swings back and forth, the computer system in my brain will begin to engage. As the pendulum swings back and forth, the computer interface in my brain will begin to engage. As the pendulum spins widdershins, the computer system in my brain will be engaged. As the pendulum spins widdershins, the computer interface in my brain will engage. When the pendulum begins to swing from side to side, my brain interface will be ready for the data download from my flute to engage the defrag button. When the pendulum begins to swing back and forth, the computer interface in my brain will be prepared to download. When the computer interface in my brain is ready to download, the pendulum will swing back and forth. When the computer system in my brain is ready to engage, the pendulum will swing back and forth. When the computer interface program in my brain is ready to engage, the pendulum will swing back and forth. When the computer system in my brain is ready to download, the pendulum will swing back and forth. When the computer interface in my brain is ready to download, the pendulum will swing back and forth. As my mind opens the defrag button will emerge. As my mind opens, the defrag button will emerge, or prepare to engage. As the pendulum spins gesture, the defrag button will begin to engage. As the pendulum spins gesture, the defrag button will prepare to engage. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready, the pendulum will go back and the pendulum will go back and forth. When the defrag button is ready. When the defrag button is ready to be linked to the easy button, the pendulum will turn gesture. When the defrag button is ready to be linked to the easy button, the pendulum will begin to spin gesture. When the defrag button is ready to be linked to the easy button, the pendulum will spin gesture. When the defrag button is ready to be linked to the easy button, the pendulum will spin gesture. When the defrag button is linked to the easy button, the pendulum will spin gesture. When the defrag button is linked to the easy button, the pendulum will spin gesture. When the defrag button is linked to the easy button, the pendulum will spin gesture. When the link has been completed, the pendulum will stop. When the link has been completed, the pendulum will stop. When the link has been completed, the pendulum will stop. When the link has been completed, the pendulum will stop. Pendulum will stop. When the link has been completed, the pendulum will stop. And now I open the crossroads and place myself in between three realms. I call upon the eye of the storm and bring myself calm. I draw the link, I call upon the link, and I prepare myself. The system is ready to defrag.
That was easy. As the pendulum spins widdershins, the operating system will engage. As the pendulum spins widdershins, the operating system will engage. As the pendulum spins widdershins, the operating system will engage. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. As the pendulum spins Jeschel, the operating system will come fully online. When the pendulum comes to a stop, the new system will begin to implement into my current reality. As the pendulum comes to a stop, the new system will begin to integrate into my new reality. As the pendulum comes to a stop, the system will begin to integrate into my new reality. As the pendulum comes to a stop, the system will begin to integrate into my reality. Okay, so it does seem that I have re-engaged the computer system in my brain in a very updated manner. I can actually feel, the best way to explain it is I feel the mental plane overlapping me in a new sort of way. And it feels, of course, very computer interface-like, but it is brought perhaps the dreams that I was working with to bring my astral self closer to my current reality was one piece, and this was another piece. Now that I am here, I see. This was a return to cohesion within the mental plane, a step, one more step towards creating a more balanced reality. And so it was the first one that we guessed, I suppose, that I would be re-engaging the computer interface. It is much more updated. There will be more videos on this as the future as I experiment with this new operating system that I have just installed into my brain. But that's going to be it for this episode. I will get back to having videos on a more regular basis from this point forward, now that I am more used to the idea of having a schedule. Okay. So that will be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining us. And until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.